Kumar Rajagopalan, CEO Retailers Association of India joins us now. Mr. Rajagopalan, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Now, walk us through about the key highlights from the recent demand survey. Any retail slowdown whatsoever which is visible?
No, I think the month of February, which is the latest data that we've got, shows an overall growth of about 22% across modern retail. Now, this also the data also suggests that the growth has been quite good in the west of the country, in the east of the country. It's been decent in the north of the country, but the south of the country growth has not been very high. In the sense, it's about 16% as compared to 19, 20, 22%. So that's one. The second part is the growth has come in from sports and sports related items and various things to do with leisure wear, etc. Um, the beauty segment is not grown as high. It's around 5-6%. The growth in some categories which are to do with, let's say, the occasion wear, etc., has been around 13-14%. So garments also has not seen a very substantial growth. It's seen a growth, it's about 16% or so, but not very substantial growth. So this is the overall trend. I think we need to wait for the big occasion season to again come. We also are now approaching vacation season. So we'll have to see as to how March, April shapes up.
Right. We also recently spoke with retailers from consumer durable companies, car dealers, which hinted at, Holi Gudi Padwa being a bit slower than expected. What is your reading on the same?
See, the February data does not show that very clearly. Cars, obviously, we don't monitor cars, but the CDIT, which is consumer durables and information technology products, have still shown a good 19% growth over pre-pandemic levels. We are all talking about growth over pre-pandemic, right? It's not very large. It's not bad also. The Gudi Padwa sales specifically, we've still yet to get our data. But currently, I think the very large items are still getting picked up. The problem has always been about discretionary items which are at a low price point or a slightly mid-range price point. And that question mark is still there in the market.
Sure, Mr. Rajagopalan, but is there anything that you could highlight and talk to us about the trends that is visible in the Tier 2, Tier 3 city demand versus urban India?
There's no clear trend there. Again, it's got more zonal influence than specifically the metro versus non-metro within the same state, for example. But there is a bit of a murmur in the market that maybe things can be getting into a slightly rocky territory now. But it's still a murmur. The data is yet to come for that.
Specifically on QSR, how are the footfalls and dining, etc., in terms of the inflationary trends, and what is the on-ground situation?
So as far as QSR is concerned, it was one of those sectors that really showed the growth at the start of the year. However, by October or so, it had kind of eased. The growth rates had come down because it was growing at more than 30% levels. It had come down to the lower part of double digits. But in the month of February, it's once again showing about 19-20% growth, which is a healthy growth. It's not exceptional growth.
Coming back to various segments you talked about in your first reply, you said that apparels and consumer durable sales are soft. So then are we seeing higher discounting than normal to push sales higher?
I think there are two types of companies that have emerged thanks to COVID. One set of companies are those that have been very careful in the way they've planned their stocks. They've also become more nimble in their stock turns, and therefore they have not stuck with too much of stocks. However, there were some companies which had to really do very long range planning. Those were the companies that got itself into a knot, because if they ordered for, let's say, 80, 90 stores and they were expecting an X amount of sale, and currently the sale is X minus 10%, that 10% will also come back and hit them slightly. The sale numbers were okay, but frankly, nowadays sale is a normal concept. Every day there is sale thanks to the marketplaces that's operating, and because everybody expects discounts on marketplaces, and marketplaces have become a method to sell old stocks. So yeah, I mean, some companies have not been able to really keep their stock levels very low. We also hear that similar cases have happened even in the case of, for example, computers. There seems to be a bit of a glut in the market for computers. There was a big requirement for computers during the pandemic. Post that, there was always the worry that the supply chain could be impacted because there were chips issues and various things there. All that has got now eased out. Supply is very good, and suddenly there is a glut in the market, and some brands are facing gluts, while many others have been very careful in the way they have planned their stocks.
Sure, Mr. Rajagopalan, one trend that we have been witnessing is that the luxury and premium products have been doing well, while it's the lower end of the product range, wherein the demand is a tad bit sluggish. Your take on the same, is that happening across all categories, you will say?
Yeah, currently it looks like the consumption at the lower end of income brackets is at a very cautious state, so to say. I think while they are spending the same amount of money that they would have spent, the number of units that they are purchasing thanks to inflation is come down. The income levels have not dramatically gone up for them, obviously. Hopefully, with this inflation arrest happening now, and if this continues, then the people at the bottom of the pyramid will also start consuming again with full force. That's where the real India growth story really would showcase at its full might. So we'll have to wait and watch.
Right, rural demand has been pretty steady over the last 2 to 3 years, but now it seems that El Nino could be a spoil sport. What is your observation?
Frankly, the rural demand has been quite good over the last 2 3 years' time. I mean, there have been times when it kind of dipped, but otherwise it's been okay. The worry definitely is at the bottom of the pyramid, like what you're saying. With El Nino, or if the range does not really follow the pattern of good grain that was there in the last 2 3 years, it might have an impact. We'll have to really see how the government machinery and the various people who are supposed to support coming into play. There has been enough stock of various grains, etc., in the country. I'm told that there is an ability to handle it, but on ground, how things really work, we'll have to wait and watch.
Right, okay, thank you so much for taking the time out and highlighting all that's going on with the space right now. Good to speak with you as always.